Welcome to Talkin' Jets. My name's Ryan, and I'll be your pilot tonight. I am joined alongside my co-pilots. I have Mr. Greenbean to my this way. I have Mr. O'Leary to my that way. Greenbean, how are you doing tonight? We missed you last week.
Yeah, I missed you guys. I secretly watched the first 5 minutes. I was still awake, and I just watched. I fell asleep to you guys. I don't know if I didn't tell you, but I did. I fell asleep. I was like, oh, I was a little bit I actually contemplated calling in and going, just, hey, I want to hop on anyway. But I'm happy to be here with you guys tonight. I couldn't wait.
I love it. Love having Greenbean back in the fold. Matt, how you doing tonight?
I'm doing fantastic. We are whole again. All three members of the family are here, which is always a great thing. And it was a busy day at OTAs. I don't know if you saw it. The season was over for about 5 minutes. So that was fun.
Guys, if you're just hopping in, make sure you hit that like button. For every 25 likes we get on this video, we're going to pick a t-shirt qualifier at the end of this stream. Greenbean, I want you to know we did not do this last week because I did not have the wherewithal to think about, it's every 25 likes and write down names and everything. I forgot to do it. Yeah.
All right. Well, I'll do it. How's that sound? I'll do it for us. What do you think?
You sacrifice yourself as tribute. I love it.
Yeah, I got 28, so here comes the first one. We're off. All right.
Boys and girls, we do have a poll question in the chat. Are you concerned about the Rodgers injury? You can vote yes or no. Feels pretty lopsided so far, and I guess we'll just jump right into that conversation. So Aaron Rodgers injures his calf. Does anyone am I the only one hearing an echo right now, or is there another echo in here? Do you get a little bit of an echo?
I don't hear it.
I don't hear one, but I will say my winner thing didn't register over there. So I'm going to do another one. I don't know what's going on.
You know why? Because this isn't my channel.
Here. And Nightbot's not here.
We never set it up.
Oh, no.
That's why. Yeah, we dropped the ball. Whoops. So you guys got to comment on the video afterwards, and you'll be qualified for next week's t-shirt giveaway. And you know what we'll do? We'll head back over to the comments from last week's video. So if you haven't commented on last week's video, we're going to pick a winner from there this week.
Yeah. Well, you want me to collect some names? How about this? Good comments and super chats. I'll collect those. If you're being a butthole,
only we don't get super chats.
Yeah, we don't have Greenbean, no super chats either.
All right, then. Good comments it is. It's all so new. It's like we just started.
I know, right? I don't know what our view count is, but it's got to be getting closer, I would think. We'll get it by the beginning of the season. We're hitting the ground running here.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
All right, boys.
It's good.
So Aaron Rodgers, gingerly walking off the practice field today, tweaks his calf, and all of Jets Twitter and the fan base had a collective hold the breath. What's going on? Oh, man, all our Twitter DMs blew up. You're tagged in a zillion different posts, and panic set in. So, Greenbean, I'll throw it to you first. Where were you? What were you doing when you heard about Aaron Rodgers' injury, and what was your initial reaction?
All right, this is exactly what I was doing. Okay, you ready for this? I was in a meeting talking about the census of a particular place that I now am employed. And then I saw an alert on my Beanbagger Discord. It said, Aaron Rodgers' ankle. And I was in the middle of the meeting, and I was like, oh no. Because I'm very good at separating. And I was like, I kept staring at the screen. I pulled my phone, and I went like this. I still stared at the screen, but I held my phone in front of me.
Just out of the camera view.
Yeah.
It's like, no one sees it.
Yeah. But I took a second and I looked and I did what probably, because I didn't have the time to dig in. I just went, like, no way. Because, remember Dwayne Brown last year, we got him. We were like, this is great because insurance, because the guy's never been injured in 36 years of NFL fucking Pro Bowl play. And 4 days in and he tears his shoulder. I was like, please, but I couldn't check in for a couple hours. But once I did, I looked at the picture and it was like his favorite. I think it was, what was it, Rossini, right? Maybe Rossini. What is her name? Is it Rossina?
Rossini. Diana
Yeah.
Rossini.
Yeah, right. So I was like, all right, well, that picture's not enough. And then there were some more blurbs. I guess he didn't participate in the rest of OTAs, at least as far as, running drills or anything. So I guess there was something to it. But overall, I think this is the type of thing that you start to realize, like, it's great to be in, the intense Jets Nation and Jets media and all this stuff in the offseason during the draft, and we get all nuts and we argue with each other. But this is the side of it that is going to kill me, quite frankly. I'm like, I wish they would just, can you give it a second before you put it out there as the world ended? Like, maybe get some more of it. Aaron Rodgers is dead. And it's like, oh no, I'm just kidding. He's alive. Turns out he was alive after all. So it was definitely, I mean, it's hard. It's hard to see that stuff. I hope that's the last one for the whole offseason because I can't handle it.
Oh, pure panic. Man, how did you feel when you saw the report?
Yeah, so usually my routine, I do a video in the morning, I go to the gym after that, come home, have a shower, and then decide what I'm going to do in the afternoon content-wise. So I get in the shower, right out of the, like, no sooner do I step out of the shower, I check my phone because I'm just addicted to the thing. And a tweet notification from Diana Rossini, Aaron Rodgers leaves with the ankle. I'm like, we can't even get in the shower. I'm going to miss, like, our season getting derailed because I just got in the shower here by how this tweet was worded. And then all the Jets beat, with all our prior beef put aside, they did a really good job of kind of pouring water on this fire and talking us off the ledge a little bit because they're like, yeah, I didn't really notice him. Like, it's not like he was, got sniped and was laying there on the field or anything like that. He kind of just walked off on his own and, kind of started hanging around on the practice field after that. If it was really hurt, and it might have been, oh no, it was Kaz. I was going to give credit to Samini, but it wasn't him. It was Costello. He said if it was something really that they were concerned about, they would have brought him inside, and he's still standing out on the practice field. So it's like, okay, like we get breathe now. It's fine.
Rich Samini said that? Oh no, Costello. Okay, right.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Stop being so panicful, Green Bean. Your knee-jerk reactions are killing us.
Well, no, I was blown away because that's actually a positive. Like, Rich Samini is rarely the calming voice we need. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So I was just blown away. But right, it wasn't him. There you go. I misunderstood.
I'm sitting at work. I'm in a meeting as well. And there's only like 5 of us in this meeting. And real quietly, I look at my phone and like one of my buddies in our group text is like sending the Twitter updates. And I'm like, don't put this evil on me, Ricky Bobby. He goes, it's not me. It's however you pronounce her first name. Nick H says I pronounced her. Diana. What did I say? Deanna? Oops.
Who knows?
I don't care. But yeah, dude, I panicked. Just pure like, no, we finally have something nice, and it's taken away from us right at the beginning of like everything happening. But luckily, it's all well and good. Now, I do have a clip from the press conference with Rodgers today where he talks about injuries in the past and whatnot. So I want to play that. We'll talk about it on the other side.
Of course, your career, I think 13 times you've made at least 15 starts. How is that one of the best achievements of your career that you've been that available to your teammates, played through injuries, what you have?
Yeah, that's always been something that I've tried to pride myself on. It's a different feel. I think the interaction with the training room over the years. When I first got in the league, there was obviously nowhere near the concussion understanding or treatment or protocol as we have now. There'd be times where guys would maybe get dinged up and go back in. There'd be other injuries where guys would just play through it. There was this idea of like callus that some coaches still talk about, and we obviously practiced differently. We had double days back then, and with some unfortunate things that happened, they cut that back to the 2 and the 1, and then obviously it's been much curtailed from that point. But I've always wanted to be on the field, and always had a good relationship with the trainers, but not good enough on their side where they could tell me when not to play. Because my answer was I'm always gonna try and be on the field, and I always felt like if my 80% was better than the guy behind me, then I should be on the field, and I always thought that was a good kind of barometer for every player. There seems to be, in more recent years, some guys looking for to be told not to play. And my stance has always been, I'm going to tell the trainers when I'm going to play.
I really liked that clip from Aaron Rodgers. We've had some pretty major injury issues the last 5-6 years where it seems like we have a massive amount of salary cap space devoted to players on the IR. And my speculation for the last few years has been, well, the Jets aren't quite good enough for these players to put their bodies on the line and risk it in a lost season when their careers are already so short. Now that Aaron Rodgers is here and he's talking about setting a standard about how you practice, how you play, and he says, all right, yeah, if my 80% is better than the guy behind me, I better be on the field. And I think he's setting that standard to the rest of the team. And I think because of that, you'll see guys play through a few more injuries that they otherwise would not have played through. Green Bean, what were your thoughts on Aaron Rodgers' comments right there?
I agree with you, dude. I think that's I gotta say, man, like, you know, I know it's early in our relationship with this man, but he says a lot of things that land with me, like just as far as logical kind of cut through the baloney responses, and the you know, the playing through injury thing, I think does that as well. It's like, you know, it is a different game. Like even hearing him say that in that particular clip there, you know, thinking about how long he's been in the league, you know, 2-a-days and all that stuff. That's the stuff you hear like Parcells talk about, you know, like back in the olden days. But it's true. It's like he's been through all of this stuff and he sees like the differences in severity and he sees how kind of micro sensitive we are right now. And I think in some instances for good reason. You look at some of the scary things that happened even last year with the Bills. And I mean, like all this guys falling out on the field and you know, all these types of things. So there's reason for it. Obviously the concussion stuff with guys like Junior Seau and the like, you know, ended up committing suicide. So there's reasons for all this stuff. At the same time, boots on the ground, I could probably play. Yeah, I'm a little banged up, but I could probably play. Like he brings that old era mentality. It's like, yeah, I'm bleeding. Yeah, I have a little limp, but I'm fine. I'll put it on ice after I have another 12 minutes in the game. The guy behind me is not quite up to the speed that I am, and I want to win this game. And we're all invested. We're getting paid millions. Guys worked all off season to get here, and I don't have a broken shin bone. You know what I mean? Like I can play, and I like those types of attitudes. And what you just said, Ryan, that it kind of permeates through the team. I think we have some of those high character guys on the team. I'll bring up Garrett Wilson last year in the Cleveland game. I think it was when he jumped in the air, caught the pass, and he was kind of horizontal, and he got pushed out of bounds, and he landed on his back, and he rolled around for a second like that. Kind of, you know, that getting your wind knocked out of you. The trainer ran over, he stood up and waved him off, and he was back on the field in 2 plays. Like my first thought was like, oh, this guy's out for fucking 4 games. You know, that's what we've seen in recent years. This guys, we lost Garrett Wilson. We got a game and a half of him. That's it. And but like I think so we have those guys on the team that are kind of built like that, and with a leader like Aaron Rodgers that says things like this and is willing to. You know, last year he played with the broken thumb, and oh, he's done. He sucks. Hey, he threw for 3,700 yards, 26 touchdowns with a broken thumb. That's the kind of stuff I think this team has been sorely missing over the last years with guys, with leaders like Jamal Adams. What is that? You hear that?
I do.
Oh, my window's open. We got the fire alarm going off.
Okay.
There's a fire in
Good. I thought it was my
Southampton,
computer was going to explode, so that's good news. I'm like, I'm going to blow up here, you guys. I'm sorry. But anyway, I think like when you look at, you know, who we've been looking to for leadership over the years, it was never going to be that. And I think it's a net positive for us overall.
Matt, how about you? How you feeling about that Aaron Rodgers clip and what he said?
Yeah, you know, that's not the only one that jumped out to me today. There's a lot that he said so far, and, you know, especially today about his leadership and just them being on a different standard now. Like, I'm not saying, you know, play through an injury and hurt yourself or anything like that, but, it's about holding yourself and holding people accountable, which really I think is the biggest thing that they were lacking. They didn't really have that beforehand. They didn't really have the focus on the little things. And if he noticed something was wrong today and said, I'm going to take the day, probably smart, smart. It's May. It's not, freaking January in the wild card round or whatever. It's a May OTA practice. So, he did the right thing. I think he handled it well, and I'm not, worried about it going forward.
Yeah, I saw some people talking about some other aspects of that interview where he's talking about his relationship with the offense, and it almost feels like he's like a coach, like who's coaching who and whatnot, and they was trying to spin it like this weird way, and I'm like, the guy's been in the system for a bunch of years. Like, if he's not helping guys try to learn the system, that's more of a red flag than him, like, chiming in. I should have clipped it, but there was a snippet of him talking about, Hack gives me the latitude to talk up and speak during practices and meetings and things like that. And he's like, I don't know if this has been a common, thing here, but we want to make sure people have their voices heard, and we're having these discussions, and it's a much more open conversation. And it's something that he's done in Green Bay for a long time. And I think it's refreshing to have someone that's as seasoned as Rodgers is in the room and leading these guys the way he is. Green Bean, anything more that you've seen out of Aaron Rodgers these last day or two, or anything you've heard?
Well, I got to say this. I was uber impressed with his rushing touchdown. I think that was yesterday.
Yep.
I mean, again, I know it's OTAs and all that stuff, but man, our defense, which is good, by the way, is going to be made that much better by playing against a guy that's as wily and experienced and just kind of, professional, man. This guy knows the position, and he can teach them, just things like that, like not biting on those types of fakes. He was probably able to, I didn't see the other angles, like who he was able to freeze if somebody was able to get to him and they jumped or some shit, like when you pump and you get a guy to freeze and jump in the air and there's nobody even there. Like those types of things. It was just nice to see, like, Aaron Rodgers is known for his arm and his toughness and all those things, but I think his football intelligence and what he's going to be able to bring to the team is something, again, that we've been missing. I mean, we've been hoping young quarterbacks can save us, be our savior, and they're just trying to learn the game while 80,000 maniacs are screaming about their mother. You know what I mean? Like, they're just trying to figure it out, and we're like, save us, and they don't even know it's. But Aaron Rodgers is a different thing, and I think, looking at it from a defensive perspective, they're now playing on a daily basis against a guy that'll make them pay and show them how stupid they're being, and they'll have to keep that focus at all times. And I think that's another positive that he brings.
Matt, any other thoughts on Aaron Rodgers and some of the comments he made? I liked the little okey dokey did on the camera guy too, because it wasn't even just freezing the defense; it was the pan twice, and I was like, oh, he got that guy twice. Loved it.
He did. It was a little tomfoolery out there. Things you love to see. And I mentioned it briefly too, but just the big thing that stood out to me is, while yes, he wasn't feeling right to continue to play today, I like that he didn't go inside, that he stayed out there with the team, and that they're also focusing on some of the little things, because that's going to be the difference on Sundays. And for a long time they've been on the wrong side of that because they don't do the little things right. But with a guy like Aaron in here showing them the right way and showing them how to win, I think it's going to be huge for this team.
So it's funny, I didn't have a little cue card pulled up, and I should have done that too. But Zach Wilson had himself a little bit of a day. If you saw any bit of Twitter, it sounded like he was the second coming, and we didn't have to worry about Aaron Rodgers at all because we got this other quarterback that we drafted 2 overall. Everything's all hunky dory. He had a 40-plus yard completion to Allen Lazard. Was it Allen, or was it Garrett Wilson? Lazard, or I think it was Wilson.
Excuse me.
Wilson. Yeah. And he apparently knew ahead of time, okay, Wilson's going to be the guy that's going to be open. He just has to beat his guy, and I've got him one-on-one. And he looked off the safety, according to Robbie Sabo. So, kind of nice to see all that. I didn't get to see the actual play. I'm relying on Sabo from Jet X Factor to give me the play-by-play analysis that he had. But I like what we're seeing out of Zach Wilson. Now, we don't have a pass rush or anything like that. That was on 7-on-7 drills, so no defensive lineman. And Zach has looked good in the past in those non-pass rush situations. So I don't know. What do you think, Matt? We buying a little too much stock in Zach Wilson right now, or how you feeling about what we heard?
I'm happy for him. I could say that it's, I think in everyone's best interest, whether you want him on the team or not, to root for his success. Because one, if he's sticking around, him figuring it out would be fantastic. But also him balling out in training camp in the preseason. If you wanted to move him in a trade, maybe you get some sucker GM, throw a higher draft pick than expected, and try to say, oh, we could salvage him. Arizona, Kyler Murray's out for God knows how long. Maybe we'll trade whatever pick and bring him in here and he could start for us at the beginning of the year. But you're right. As you mentioned, it is important to note that there was no pass rush and there were no shoulder pads or anything like that. But I am rooting for his success, and I'm glad that he had a good day today and supposedly yesterday too. Salah said it's been a good first couple of days for him, so that's good news.
Green Bean, how you feeling about Zach Wilson and his good first few days of camp?
Well, I mean, it's good. I mean, that's what you want to see. I mean, don't forget, like last year in camp, when we were all kind of, we were hoping Zach in year 2, we were doing that whole thing, and then he got injured in the first preseason game and all that. We were hoping that the training camp inaccuracy and kind of wildness a lot of days wasn't going to be what he brought to the season. We were like, hey, it's training camp. So if we're going to do it on one side, you got to do it on the other, right? It's like tempered. I think it's positive. Like here's the thing, like Matt said, maybe there's an opportunity to trade him or something like that. I think that's slim, but that's there. The better he looks, the better any options like that are concerned, right? But I think best case scenario is what we were all talking about when we were looking at which quarterbacks we hoped the Jets would consider bringing in, whether it was Jimmy G or Ryan Tannehill or Brissett or any of these, or Derek Carr, any of the guys that we wanted to bring in. Aaron Rodgers being top of the heap, but another, like a sidebar of Aaron Rodgers coming here was that he would be here for a short period of time. Zach and Aaron Rodgers are known to have gotten closer over the past 2 years. It's Zach's idol. So there's a lot of positives there that could kind of pay off in the future, which is that Zach, we get that reset. We get a new offensive staff in here. He doesn't have the stress of being, placed with the whole team placed on his shoulders and he can kind of learn. So, I mean, best case scenario is Aaron Rodgers plays here for, 2 or 3 years. We win some championships. We change the organization, and Zach is ready to be the Zach that we drafted at number 2 overall. So I think the more good reports, the better. That said, the fact that Jets Forever is in the chat saying it was an extraordinary throw, which means extraordinary. That's the way that word breaks down. The fact that we're calling an OTA pass extraordinary shows how bad he's been, because it's just a pass. That's just a NFL quarterback throwing the ball to a fucking wide receiver with shorts on. So it's, we keep it all in perspective, but I would much rather be hearing that Zach looks sharp right now and that it looks like hanging out with Aaron Rodgers is helping him than the opposite. I think it's a positive. I want to hear good things about Zach Wilson, because it would be a great turn of events, man, that the Jets, being one of the only teams in NFL history to have an entrenched starter, benched, replaced, retained, and then come back in after a redevelopment to start and succeed. I don't know if it's ever happened before. I mean, maybe somebody knows of a time, but generally speaking, what happens when an NFL team brings in a new starter, they get rid of the previous starter. And there are obvious reasons to do so. I don't recall off the top of my head something like this happening. So if it did work, that would be something cutting edge. Maybe we'd start a trend. Who knows? But I think, again, best case scenario is Zach actually does look good and does turn a corner being behind Aaron Rodgers. So I think day 2 is the best we could hear.
Boys and girls, if you're just hopping in, make sure you hit that like button. We've only got 66 likes. We got 169 of you hanging
Nice.
out with us here today. I love being over on the new channel. It's interesting seeing we always recognize the names that pop in, but like these are the diehards that are with us right now because there's not a whole lot going on in the Jet off season. This isn't like some crazy hype train. It's no. These are like the guys and girls that are hanging out with us in the chat. So it's greatly appreciated.
Yeah. Like B2B's here, Harlan's here, Dark Soldier, right? All these guys. This is great.
Dom
Guys are the
C's in
best.
there. See Dom.
Yeah, there's
Oh, he's-
Dom. Snoop's here. Was it Snoopy? It was you wearing the shirt, right? Wasn't it Snoopy?
I believe it was. We've got a few people that tagged us in the shirt. If you've gotten one of our shirts either by winning or by purchasing a shirt, and you want to get on our closing like outro, what we're gonna do when we get closer to the end of the season, we'll have our outro, but we'll flick through pictures of people like in the shirt and stuff that are supporting the channel. So always appreciate it if you send it our way. It's always cool to see something that we worked hard on. People enjoy. Jason hops in. He says, unless Aaron is carted off, I'm okay. We have been through this way too many times before. No more Jets negativity. Jason says positive vibes only. That's what I'm hearing. It's a long way to say that.
Jason.
I like
What's
that.
up, Jason Edwards? Good to see you, buddy.
Eric says, I would be surprised if Rodgers is physically active for the rest of remaining voluntary workouts. I could see that too. It's also like a little bit of time. I think it's like the next 3 weeks or so are these OTA practices. And then I think it's June 13th through 15th is the voluntary stuff before we get that 6-week layoff before training camp. I could see Rodgers not participating as much and just being kind of like a player coach on the sideline. And I don't have any problem with that. Matt, any issues if Rodgers does not participate in any of the voluntary stuff?
I think he's going to come out tomorrow, give the double bird, do a backflip, and then take the first snap under center. Just a nice FU and be like, I'm fine. Watch me. I'm 40. You gotta watch yourself. You're a little banged up now. You're going to get hurt. No, sir. I'm going to go out there and prove that I'm just fine. But in all seriousness, if they did that, you could put him in shrink wrap till training camp. That's fine.
Get him in one of those like exosuits that don't allow him to like hurt any part of his body. Green Bean, any thoughts about Rodgers possibly not participating in the rest of voluntary workouts right now?
I don't know. I think I'm with Matt. Like, he's gonna, if he's like really like, hey, dude, I'm tweaked. Like, there's no reason to, aggravate this thing. Then maybe. But I'm leaning toward he's probably fine, and he's gonna want to show the world, like, because like it, man. If he misses a few days, if he's got that choice, missing a few days, the media here is gonna feast, and then that's gonna do, and the national media is gonna pick it up, and it's the whole thing. We're going to be on Twitter defending ourselves in a matter of seconds about the big move that we made, that, we're going to ruin Rodgers and Jets, it's going to be bad luck Jets or all that stuff. So I think he would come out and even if just to quiet everybody, if he's okay, he'll be there.
Snoopy threw me off for a second. He goes, I want Matt, Ryan. Or Wentz. I thought he was going to say or Green Bean. And I was like, that's how I was reading that. I was like, oh, Matt, Ryan, and then he's talking about it as a backup. And I was like, that's not where I thought this was going. I don't want either of those guys. I want Zach to be backup, and I want him to not have to take a snap all season. Matt, your thoughts?
Yeah, Matt Ryan's, didn't he just sign a deal with CBS? I think he's going to do that now at this point. I know theoretically, yes, he could come back, but I don't know how much that really does. And Carson Wentz, I don't know what happened there. I thought one of the more promising quarterbacks for a while. Then the injury started to really come in, and it seems like it's almost gotten toxic wherever he goes. So I think I'm out on it.
Green Bean, what about you? What do you think about the backup situation?
Carson Wentz or Matt Ryan or Green Bean? Well, I think, we talked about it all offseason. I think I was a big fan of Zach being number 3, right? I wanted to ensure that he didn't feel any stress of, the idea of that, that he would have to come in or anything like that. So we're seeing how it goes in OTAs and training camp and all that. If Zach is looking good and confident and all that, I think he's fine as a number 2. But if not, if he's showing any signs of being shaky or second guessing and all that, I think it would be a good idea to bring a vet in. Carson Wentz, he had a really rough year last year, but let's not forget the guy's on his 3rd team in 3 years. I mean, 2 years ago for the Colts, he had like 27 touchdowns and 12 picks, something like that. It was, I mean, he's just such a butthole that they still didn't want him. You know, whatever, the team hated him or whatever it might be. But he's not a bad quarterback. If you're looking at a number 2 kind of guy, just somebody that, you know, if Aaron Rodgers goes down, can come in and play football at an NFL level, I think it would be a smart move. I mean, Joe Douglas came out recently talking about the mistake of not having more of an infrastructure, you know, particularly a vet quarterback that can play when Zach was just getting started here. I think, you know, maybe they learned their lesson and they have their eye on that. And if they see Zach shaking it all, I think it'd be smart to ensure that this season doesn't go down the toilet with a guy who's running backwards 15 yards instead of just throwing the ball to his wide open running back who's standing in front of him screaming. You know, so I don't know. I think it would be a good idea depending on the situation.
Lise Niedermayer says, for me, I feel better watching that Ascension video again. It rocks, and I love it. Yeah, that was really friggin' cool. Green Bean, I'm sorry. They did you dirty. They didn't throw you in there. O'Leary and I got like our 5 seconds of fame.
Yeah.
It was so cool to see it pop up. Oh, dude, I'm sitting there watching it with Becca. I was like, oh, this is so cool. We're going to be able to watch like how the Aaron Rodgers stuff went down. And I saw Richie pop up and I was like, oh, Richie's in there. I was like, I wonder who else is going to be in there. I was like, oh man, it's me. Oh man. And then I see Ian pop up and I see Matt pop up. I was like, I can't wait to see Green Bean. And they were like, I don't know, this beanbagger guy. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, look, in their defense, let me, you know, I'll tell you, I have mixed feelings, right? I'm incredibly excited. Like, I was delighted to see you guys on there. Truly. I was like, yeah, like pumped. And then I wasn't there, so I'm a little disappointed, of course, right? Of course. But the truth is, they would have had to really try hard to make because my Aaron Rodgers comment wasn't the same as yours. I was in the middle of cleaning chicken shit and all that sort of. I made a short and I said, well, the trade happened. And then I think I said, anybody want any eggs? Like, that's what I said. So, like, what are they supposed to do with that? You know what I mean? I get it. I remember I was going to make a video. There was so much out there. I just left it. You know what I mean? I was like, all right, it's like madness. I just made my little short and then I went back to the chickens. And then anyway, so I do understand. They would have had to really dress me up. There was a lot of better reactions. Yours, both are included. So I get it. I'm okay.
I think we need to remake that portion of that video and include Green Bean's section where he says, "You want eggs?" Just totally. Oh yeah, Aaron Rodgers got traded. Matt, what were your thoughts when you watched Ascension?
Yeah, it was literally the Leonardo DiCaprio meme where you're like pointing at the TV. It's like, oh hey, I know that guy. It was cool. They have done a really good job of including. I know, unfortunately, Green Bean got left off, but. Of including fan creators and stuff like that. So the struggle to give them some leeway here. There's a lot of us out there, so it's not easy to include everybody. But it's nice. It's very humbling. They've used my stuff a couple of times, and every time it brings a smile to my face.
Yeah, it gets exciting. Like when that sort of stuff happens, and I see Adam S. drops in, he says, did Flight get your permission, Matt and Ryan, to use your video clips? Just curious. Nope, and that's okay, because I've totally used their clips without any kind of permission, and I have no issues whatsoever. I think it's really cool just to see myself over there.
1000%. Yes, I have gotten content from them. They could take my content and put it on their own stuff. That is more than okay. Fair trade.
Right. I'm with that. Totally.
I see Red John and Zachary both have some good questions in the chat. So, guys, I will get to those in a little bit, but I want to discuss a little bit about Mekhi Becton. We got a little bit of drama going on the offensive line. Mekhi Becton blames the coaches last year for putting him on the right-hand side and ultimately him getting injured when he was complaining about soreness or some kind of pain in his right knee. And because he was moved to the right-hand side, when he drops back in pass blocking sets, he puts more pressure on that right knee. So I guess, Green Bean, I'll throw it to you first. What are your thoughts on Mekhi Becton's comments, and how much maybe concern or blame or whatever do you put into the coaches maybe not listening to Becton?
Well, I think two sides to it, right? Number one, I think he's got a point. You know what I mean? Like, if he's coming off an injury to his right knee, there is an argument to be made that the Jets mismanaged that initial injury. Remember, we heard 6 to 8 weeks, and then it was 12 weeks, and then, maybe he'll make it back for the last 3 games. And then we talked, if there's only 2 games left, we should just let him stay. Remember, we did that all season in 2021, wondering what was going on with Becton. So there's an argument to be made that they mismanaged it even from that level. Even if it's just the PR or whatever, there was something awry there, right? So he comes back. He's big and fat, wearing a smock that says big bust, right? He's 395 pounds or whatever he is. But he loses 100 pounds in 4 days. And then he comes back and he looks all good, takes pictures with the dentist. Remember, all this is the whole lineage here. Mm-hmm. And then but they put him on the right side. Remember, we thought there was going to be a battle at left tackle. Fant and Becton, that they might take a few weeks. It was day 1 of training camp. Robert Saleh came out and said, George Fant is left and Mekhi Becton is right. That's that. And we said, okay, well, I guess that gives Becton more time on the right side. But if he's telling the coaches, like, look, dude, my knee doesn't feel right on the right side. And we don't know specifically what happened or whatever, but I'll buy it. I'll buy that he didn't want to be over there. And I'll buy that he voiced it. He doesn't seem like somebody who shuts his fucking mouth for more than 30 seconds. So he seems like somebody who would say something. And remember the day that it happened, if you guys remember correctly, he went down, he got up, he was able to walk off and go into the building and everything. But Robert Saleh came out and said, we're not worried about it. It's not remember that? He said it's not a big deal. We're not too concerned. So if that's the overall mentality that they were giving him, like, just be quiet and do what we tell you, so to speak, maybe there is something to it, so that's that side of it. And I would be upset too. It's like, hey man, my right knee's a mess. You got me on the right side. I'm putting more pressure on it than I'm used to. It's a new position. And it doesn't feel right. Can we take a look at this? And they're saying, hey, just shut up and stop complaining, so to speak. And then that happens, I'd be bent out of shape too, right? That said, I really wish he would shut up. You know what I mean? Like, can you just talk? Keep that stuff in-house? You know what I mean? Like, there's some positive stuff. It's like it's a holdover from, like, the Elijah Moore kind of, obviously back to, like, there's just a couple voices that just seemingly just, Ty Johnson comes out and wah, wah, wah. And he's a holdover from the previous regime. It's like that early, Adam Gase kind of era stuff kind of bleeding over. And I just wish, like, that Ty Johnson is one thing, but like Becton, I wish you would pick up on what's going on around here. And everything's changed. Like, nobody's talking like that. Everybody's trying to put positivity out there, and he's still stuck in this thing. Now, he's just turned 24. He's young and all that. And if he's mad, he's mad. And if he's upset now and they're putting him back at right tackle because old man Brown is over there at the left, he's trying to get his point across, just like we said with the Quinnen Williams stuff with the negotiation. We'll talk about that later, I'm sure. But, like, that's kind of how it's done these days. These guys are social media guys. They're out there. They have their own brands. They have their own names. They have their social media. That's what they do. It's how they get their voice out there. So there's a lot to it. But again, ultimately, I just wish he would be quiet and keep it in-house and talk to the coaches. But if he is, and he's not getting what he kind of feels he needs, then this might be a way that a lot of people would explore. So I hate the fact that it's happening. I do. I would love to just buy into the positive idea that the Jets are on a mission and do that. But I can't say I don't understand giving the limited information I do have. I would be probably pretty bent out of shape as well.
Yeah, I get the feeling that like every time that Mekhi Becton talks or sends out a tweet, I just kind of cringe, or I'm like, man, that's like not really what I wanted to hear or not what I wanted to see. Like, hey, Mekhi Becton, you want to blame the coaches for putting a lot of pressure on that right knee. Maybe 400 pounds put a lot of fucking pressure on that knee. Like, I don't know what to tell you, dude. Like, get yourself in shape. Don't skip leg day and you know, show out there. Now, of course, I do think there should be a level of concern when you hear, you know, Ty Johnson say something and you hear Mekhi Becton say something about the injury stuff. And that's a little bit concerning overall. But I do get this feeling, and I think Becton said something along the lines of like the doubters or something like that won't be here or whatever, or he wants to not even just prove him wrong, but you better not be here when I show you like what's actually going to happen. And I sort of took that as like, is he like referring to the Jets or like the team in any capacity? Like, we're just sticking him on the right-hand side, but he believes he's a left-hand tackle. If he proves he's a left-hand tackle, does he even want to be here at that point? Especially because if he has a good year, I can't see any way the Jets are going to pay him other than the franchise tag or a transition tag. Either one, it's going to be like a one-year contract. Matt, what were your thoughts on the Mekhi Becton stuff and some of the comments he's made?
Yeah, I mean, you got to stop going to Green Bean first. He took all my good ideas that I wanted to talk about.
Oh, that's all right.
Muted.
We could just keep him on this. He has no idea he's muted.
Oh. There he goes.
I was not saying this. I was saying, Matt, you know what's funny? While I was talking, I heard, I was like, all right, stop. Don't go down that direction. That Matt probably wants to say that. I was actually having that inner dialogue. Well, so yeah, you got to go to Matt first, man. I'm the worst. Clearly.
It's okay. It's okay. I'm teasing Green Bean, but he's 100% right, because I think there are instances with this scenario where both sides play a factor in being wrong. From the Jets' point of view, if his knee was bothering him and he told the team that the knee was bothering him, then he probably should not have been on the field. It shouldn't be, you know, suck it up and get out there. It should be like, let's check this out and make sure you don't get hurt worse, because one, he was hurt all the year prior, and two, they've had a bad issue diagnosing injuries, not only with him, but just in years gone by. That's been an issue from them. Now, from his perspective, I don't like that he went.
Sorry, I clicked the button.
I don't like that he went. That was great. I don't like that he went public over it. I wish that was something that they'd have been able to handle in house. Like, I totally understand his frustration with it. I really do. But I don't know. I didn't like how he went to like Newsday and had like his tell-all. Part of me wishes he would just kind of, you know, take the lumps for the last couple of years, go out. We see you're in great shape. Go out there, earn the job, and quiet the doubters with your play. I think he's talented enough to do it. I do think he has a chance to win the left tackle job. But like Salah said today, the 5 best offensive linemen are going to play, and if that's the case, he's probably going to have to play right tackle. So I don't know what we're doing. Is he going to refuse to play right tackle if that's what happens if Dwayne Brown wins the job? I don't know.
Yeah, that's a weird sort of situation. Like, when I did my reaction video to this topic, I was kind of thinking like, oh, you know, I would love for Mekhi Becton to earn the left tackle spot, because then you have Brown as the backup left tackle. And then you figure out right tackle. Is right tackle going to be Max Mitchell? Is it going to be Billy Turner? Is it going to be AVT? Something on that side. But like, I want nothing more than Becton to come out and look like, you know, what we were hoping to get out of him year 2. Green Bean, any thoughts on how this offensive line could look?
Well, you know, it's funny that, like what Matt was just saying about, like, you know, what Salah said, the best 5 offensive linemen are going to play. And if that means right tackle for you, that means right tackle. Like, if we put you back in at left tackle, that means we have right tackle, you know, with Max Mitchell and Billy Turner. It's not quite as strong. So we want to do this. And if he says no, you know, what does that mean for this guy? Like, you know, you got to sit with him and say, dude, all right, look, you've been out of the league for 2 years with fatness and injury issues, right? This is your chance to are you going to forego another year and still think that people are going to value you, like you're going to be playing for vet minimum. You know, teams are going to, for third string, second, like you're going to have to do this no matter where you go. Like if you want to play, right tackle's yours. If you don't want it, sit down. And we're not trading you. We're not going to trade you for a 6th round pick or something like that. Just sit down. So like there's going to have to be that kind of, you know, that willingness, and that conversation with him. Like, hey, dude, you know, we have left tackle is strong. Right tackle's a little bit weaker. And this is just hypothetically, of course. But we want you to play over there. You can start at right tackle. And if something happens at left tackle, who knows? Maybe you can move over there in the middle of the season and something happens. But like, this is your opportunity to play and prove the doubters wrong. You're a team guy and that you're still good and that you can stay healthy. Sitting on the bench proves nothing to anyone. They're all going to still be concerned that you're an injury waiting to happen. And he's going to have to come to grips with that. I mean, he's under contract, man. And the coaches have say over what goes on. It's that simple. You know, I am a left tackle. Yeah, that's on Twitter you are. Right now we have right tackle open for you. Do you want it or not? And that's kind of the way it's probably going to have to be. You know, I think it's nice to see him hungry. It's nice to see him in shape and working his ass off, and all those things are positives. But I think he's got to get a little bit of an attitude adjustment right about now. To what's available to a guy who's missed the last 2 full seasons. You don't get to come in and make demands in that scenario. And I don't know who's advising him, but they should have a talk over dinner with him and say, hey, buddy, you need to calm down.
Yeah, he's saying after 1 week, I'll be back on the left-hand side, things of that nature. Hey, I love the confidence. I love the shape he's in. You saw the video or the picture still frame of him like running at training camp or at OTAs, yesterday, 2 days ago. The guy looks like, I don't know what weight he could possibly be, 340 or something like that. Like he looks a lot slimmer than he did the same time last year. Like last year, he looked lethargic. And I think him being at the facility as opposed to being either home or in a different area, not around the team, I think this is a big thing for him. And I don't want to, discount him being away from the team last year because he was having his first kid. So that's obviously an important part of the, life. But I think being around the facility and I think him not being around the facility last year and then having the injury and being told you're getting put at the right-hand side, I feel like he almost feels like an outsider with this regime because the last time he started for us, he was the starting left tackle. He's never lost his job due to poor play. He lost it because he got injured initially and never got another shot to get it back. So I don't know. Matt, how are you feeling about Becton and maybe never having that opportunity to really show that he's a left tackle for this coaching staff?
Yeah, I mean, the injuries definitely play a big factor in it. He was going to be in 2021 and then got hurt. And then George Fant had an incredible year. So it was going to be very difficult for him to get that left tackle job back. I think Fant playing as well as what he did in 2021 definitely hurt Mekhi's stock of getting that, that job back. And I don't blame him for missing OTAs when his child was going to be born. That was, something that he obviously should have been there for. I just think it's now after the fact, the hesitancy, that might even be putting it nicely, to play right tackle, which is just a little bit bizarre to me.
Green Bean, any thoughts on Becton maybe never having the shot to prove that he's a left tackle for this regime?
I think it's possible. I got into a conversation with a chat one night, and lots of people were telling me that the idea that the Jets are going to allow Brown, who's making $11.2, I think it is this year, $1 million. The fact that the idea that they would let him be a backup is just not reality because of the contract, because of the salary that he makes. And I have to say, I disagree with that. I think that it's likely that he's our left tackle. Likely. It's probably his last year. He's a vet. He played through a torn rotator cuff or something, torn pec, something last year. He played through injury. for the team last year. He's kind of an Iron Man-esque type of guy. He's a warrior, and he had some good games too, even though he was a bit spotty for us. So it's likely that he starts. But the idea that because he makes $11 million, Becton's making $10 million. So it doesn't make sense to me that he can't be the backup. If Becton comes out in training camp and he's like positively rolling dudes, he's snarling, like the report that I got a couple weeks ago, that he's quite literally, not literally, figuratively, foaming at the mouth, it's like if he comes out there and he maintains that attitude, like I'm not here to please any one of you. I don't care about this. I'm just here to show the world that I'm the best damn left tackle on this team. And if he does that and he's throwing dudes around, pushing them off the freaking field, and they don't start him, then I think there's something wrong. You know what I mean? Like if he's the best left tackle, I think that he should start, and I think that he will start. And then you got to look over at the right side, the Max Mitchells, the Billy Turners, and maybe even the Carter Warrens of the world can have that competition on the right side. And, look, people get so weird, like, oh my God, you don't want a 4th round pick. Dude, we have been drafting, and the whole NFL, by the way, have been drafting 4th, 5th, 6th round linemen and taking them right from the draft and sticking them in the starting lineup since the beginning of time, as far as NFL. And we've done it many years. In just off the top of my head, Fabini, Slauson, all that we dressed. Slauson was a 6th, Fabini was a 4th. You take these guys, you stick them in, you weather a few bumps and bruises, and they're more than adequate to start. That's where you find the meat of your offensive line a lot of the time. So I think, guys like a Max Mitchell might be perfectly fine over there, man. That might be the next Jason Fabini on the right side. So I just think the idea that the best guys will play should really be true. And if Becton is the best left tackle, no matter the contract, I think he should start over there. And I'm not one who thinks that the contract prohibits you from having that type of a conversation and making that type of a move. And I know a lot of Jets fans do feel that way, but I don't. I think the best guy will play.
So what's interesting is there is a parallel here to the Mekhi Becton, Dwayne Brown contract situation, and could the contract impede Becton from playing? And I agree with Green Bean. I don't think it's going to play a factor if Becton shows to be the best left tackle. And that is Robert Saleh was on staff in Seattle when Flynn was the quarterback with the big contract, and they drafted Russell Wilson in the 3rd round. They decided to start Russell Wilson instead of Matt Flynn at the time. So I don't think contract is going to impede performance if the performance is better. Now, they might deem like, hey, Brown at this stage of his career is better at left tackle and Becton at right tackle because the drop-off from Becton at right tackle versus the increase from Becton at left tackle, hey, that might be a conversation you have to have, and you say, hey, yeah, Becton, you're going to be on the left-hand side next year, but for right now, this is what it looks like. But also, let's think about Brown coming in here. He wasn't signed necessarily to be the left tackle. I mean, he was brought in once Becton went down. Like we had him for the green and white scrimmage. He was visiting the Jets at that point in time, the beginning part of August or so. And then Becton went down like within the next few days after that. And that's when Brown got the elevated contract because we had our back against the wall. So Becton has never lost his job to Dwayne Brown before. He lost it to Fant, who proved it on the field. Now, I'm not saying that Brown didn't prove it last year, but I think there's at least something to be said for having that open competition, at least a start of training camp. Matt, any thoughts on the Becton stuff?
Yeah, just final thoughts from me is, like Salah said, the best 5 will play, and if Becton truly beats out Dwayne Brown for that left tackle job, then I think he will have earned it, and I think he'll get that opportunity if it does happen in camp.
I saw Red John come in with a comment before, so I want to throw this up on the screen. He says, how many teams do you guys think have a better receiving group than the New York Jets? So when I'm thinking around the league, the Bengals have a really good one. The Chargers have a good one. The the Bears now do have a pretty good receiving core with Claypool and who the heck did they add? Didn't they draft someone and they also signed someone else? They got like 3 new receivers within since the trade deadline.
Let's see.
I'm trying to look
Whoever
for
gets DeAndre Hopkins, that could be an interesting situation. The Raiders have a pretty good receiving core with Renfro and Devontae Adams over there. And they got they got what's his face
Oh, they
from
got DJ Moore. They got DJ Moore. That's who they got. That's who we're
the Bears. You're talking. Yeah, that's the other.
Yeah. Right.
But then who's the receiver from New England that went to the Raiders? The Raiders have a pretty decent
Jacoby
receiving core.
Myers.
Yeah, Myers. There's a few. Miami is a good option with Tyreek Hill and Waddle. I would say, I don't know. I like the depth of our wide receiver room. I think there's other receiver groups that I might say, like, okay, if those 2 guys are on the field, they're going to be very, very difficult to guard against. And I think for me, I don't know if Lazard is quite on that level the same way that I worry about Hill and Waddle. But our defense is so good that I don't want to say I don't worry about them, but I have less concern about them. Like, I think there's going to be less teams that can take on our offense than will have difficulty with other teams' wide receivers, if that makes sense. Matt, what are your thoughts on the receiver groups from around the league, and what other teams might have a better receiving group? Philly comes to mind.
Philly, Seattle with Lockett, Metcalf, and Jackson Smith and Jigba. I think the Jets are roughly middle of the pack, which is fine. When you're looking in your division, Miami's the best by far. Buffalo and the Jets, I would say, is comparable, and then New England's a little bit behind. Cincinnati obviously has a great one. There are definitely, I wouldn't say like this is some dominant strength, but the Jets don't have a garbage wide receiver room. I think it's about league average, so somewhere around 15, something like that. I think that's probably fair, and I don't necessarily think you need, like, would it be nice? Sure, to have a top 5 receiver room, of course, but I think league average is really what they need because they're going to want to run the football a lot, and they have tight ends that they could utilize as well too.
Greenby, what are your thoughts on the Jets receiving core and maybe some of the receiving cores from around the league?
Well, I think we'll be better when we trade Corey Davis for DeAndre Hopkins. That's going to be interesting. That'll be fun when we do that. So that'll
do you think the Hopkins
happy.
thing happens?
I don't know.
You think we're getting
why
him?
not? Why not talk about it? We're talking about Aaron Rodgers' freaking calf for an hour.
It'd be
Why
cool.
not,
I mean,
man?
I saw, I don't know if it was Blewett. I could be wrong. Blewett had something, he mentioned something along the lines of the Jets having like $18 million in salary cap space. And like that June 1st deadline kind of coming up on DeAndre Hopkins and where he might wind up because he doesn't want, not that he doesn't want to play for Arizona, but because Kyler's out, it doesn't make sense for him to waste a season when he doesn't have that many left. And he doesn't really want to give up his contract because he's earned that contract and he wants to play for the $19 million that would be on said contract. And I saw a rumor that like he's looking at Buffalo, he's looking at New England, and like, oh, Josh Allen's a top 5 quarterback. And it's like, is he just not saying the Jets to like make us all want him more? Like, is it like a little bit of reverse psychology here?
Well, he put out that top 5 of the quarterbacks. It's Josh Allen, Jalen Hurts, Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, and Justin Herbert. Good group, I would say.
Sure.
Slightly above average group. But he said that, remember, a month or whatever ago, they asked him about certain teams without saying words. And when he came to the Jets, he kind of gave that, I don't want to play for him look. That was before we had Aaron Rodgers. So I think that Aaron Rodgers might be on that list, except that he very recently said that he doesn't want to play for the Jets, so he can't possibly, whatever. I think if the Jets traded for him, he would do it. He would go where he has to go, right? And don't forget, too, like if the Jets did, it's, of course, hypothetical, right? We're just going down a rabbit hole here. But if we traded Corey Davis, as an example, for Bernard, I do that all the time, DeAndre Hopkins. If we did that, that's 11 point whatever $1 million off of our salary cap as well. So then we get D-Hop for essentially $8 million. And we still have $10 million in salary cap space. to mess around with Rodgers or put it toward Quinnen or whoever else. It could be an interesting move to make. That all said, so it's not as prohibitive as maybe it feels like adding $19 million to our current cap. It's not quite doesn't really look like that. So when you look at our wide receiver core compared to some others, I mean, the one that pops up to me, Red John, is obviously the Bengals. I mean, the Bengals wide receiving. I mean, dude, their top three is Studley. I mean, with Higgins, obviously Jamar Chase, and then did Boyd stay there? Did Boyd leave? Did anybody leave? I don't think anybody left.
No, I think they're all still there, right?
Yeah, I mean,
Pretty
think
sure.
about it. So those guys are going into year 3 or year 4 with Burrow. So I mean, Chase is going into year 3, but that group's been together. I mean, they're cohesive. They're about as good as it gets, in my opinion, right now, especially when Joe Burrow's as good as he is on top of it. So that they stick out to me as a much better wide receiver core than we have. But ours is good. I think what Matt said around, top 15-esque, Lazard, I think, is better than given credit for. I spent some time this offseason really looking at his highlights of last year. He was their number 1 wide receiver last year, kind of as a default. Aaron Rodgers already has a chemistry with him. They've worked together the whole time. Aaron Rodgers has been with him since he's a rookie, right? So they've been together, Lazard's whole career. And then you add the back end like the Cobbs, and then you just look at the middle, with Garrett Wilson, McCole Hardman, and even Mims. I'm going to throw him in there until I can't anymore. Okay. It's a very solid, and Corey Davis, it's a solid, very solid potential upside, hidden upside group. Denzel Mims and Corey Davis, we've seen them with Zach Wilson, and then, obviously Mims with Sam Darnold and Flacco and Mike White and Streveler and all this kind of stuff. Like, we haven't seen Corey Davis and Denzel Mims with a quarterback the likes of Aaron Rodgers or Garrett Wilson. Throw him in there, and then Lazard and all these guys. And we got a nice solid group, man. And I don't think we should be slept on. I think it's the best wide receiver group we've had since 2000. Well, you could obviously 2015 with Marshall and Decker. That was special. But really, maybe I guess that's the year. You can't overlook it. But since 2015, this is leaps and bounds the best wide receiver group we've put together. And I think the upside is, I think there's a lot of hidden upside there, man. We could be looking at a group that's actually better than we think they are. They just got to gel. That's what we need.
Yeah, I think that's important. And Hawk kind of brings up a good point here. He says D-Hop is not a willing run blocker. Corey Davis run blocking is about 400% better than D-Hop's. And that, you got to look at what our offense is going to be. Our offense is going to run through Breece Hall as much as it is Aaron Rodgers and everything that's going to go into the team. They're going to want to rest Aaron Rodgers as much as possible. You don't want to have to rely on him to make every single throw all the time. You want to run the ball with your running backs. You want to give the ball to the tight ends. You want to get the balls to the receivers. And Corey Davis has been a team player the last few years. I'm really excited to see what we get out of him. This is only the second first-round wide receiver that Aaron Rodgers is playing with. The other one is Garrett Wilson. So having these two on the field at the same time, I'm excited to see what we get out of Corey Davis this year. Matt, what are your thoughts on Corey Davis?
I think he's a fine third option as a wide receiver, which I think he's probably going to be. With maybe 𝐒𝐿 gives him a run actually, but I think Lazard ends up being the wide receiver too. But I don't know how to feel about Corey. I would think that he would be better with an improved quarterback play, but also a lot of his issues were kind of self-inflicted, whether it be drops or the injuries. Like that's not necessarily on the quarterback play. So I'm cautiously optimistic with Corey Davis. I think if he stays healthy, he could be a pretty solid third option.
Yeah, I'm hoping that some of the ball placement might be a little bit more of an issue, and maybe Corey Davis and the injuries and everything like that, maybe it'll all kind of figure its own self out. Zachary Berner, I think that's a typo in there. How big of an impact will Ruckert have this year? Not how bad of an impact. How big of an impact will Ruckert have this year? I don't know. Matt, what are your thoughts on Ruckert? Do you think we see him a good amount this year?
I think you see him more. I still think he's tight end 3, and I think Conklin and Uzama get more reps over him. But I think he'll be utilized as a blocker a little bit more consistently, which is good. I think he showed in the Miami game just how good he could be there. But maybe he sneaks in 15 catches on the year, something like that, sporadically throughout the week. And he's one injury away from a much bigger role too. So Conklin and Uzama remained pretty healthy last year. So if one of those guys gets banged up, I am more than confident with the thought of him coming into play.
Greeny, what are your thoughts on Jeremy Ruckert? How big of an impact will he have this year?
I'm hoping a lot, man. A big impact. I'm hoping that, they gave him his kind of, red shirted him, to an extent. We saw the one, remember we played the one game and he tried to make a block and he dove on his face and that was kind of it. You know what I mean? I was like, all right, he's not ready. Put him on the fucking bench. I thought he would play more last year. I think many of us did, using a 3rd round pick on him. But I'm really hoping that he comes out and he's just competing for the starting job. Like they're all at equal level. I know Uzoma and Conklin are free agents and we brought him in and they both reworked their contracts and all that sort of stuff. And that does give them a little bit of a leg up, of course. But if Ruckert is given the chance, I believe he's probably got the potential to be among the best tight ends on the team. And that's what I liked him at Ohio State. We talked about him numerous times. He was kind of underutilized in the passing game. Whenever they used him, he made amazing catches. He doesn't like to go down. I mean, the guy's a stud, and I'm really hoping that they just, from the word go, just he's competing for the job. That's what I hope. Not he's tight end 4 or something like that. That said, I think that if he gets on the field, I think having that young kind of aggressive attitude that he brings to the table. He's a Jets fan, as we know. He's from Long Island. He's got that hard Long Island, edge to him. And I think that he's going to want to, make good here in a way that, you don't have to be a Jets fan to succeed here, of course, but he's going to want to make good. Is that little extra something that I think will motivate him in a way that others can't access. And I think he should be given the chance. And I think that if he is, a fair chance, not like some preconceived, you got to work your way through a lot of bullshit like LaFleur would do to you. I think that he'll make good and we'll see a lot of him. And I think if we do, we're going to like it. That's how I feel about Ruckert.
Yeah, I'm excited to see a little bit more from him. I'm kind of leaning on the side with Matt here as far as, he'll see some uptick in production, but I do think they're going to ultimately try to block with Uzama and try to, throw the ball to Conklin. And one of those guys goes down, Ruckert's right there getting a bunch of reps because we want the tight ends out on the field. So, I don't know. I got high hopes for Ruckert, but I'm kind of like more anticipating like what we see from him towards the tail end of the year once there's a little bit more maybe wear and tear on some of the older players' bodies. I think he can come in and provide that fresh bit of juice. And like you said, Green Bean, I mean, his passion being a Jets fan, it's going to bring that extra gear. If you're in a sports car and you got the 5th gear, throwing a little extra 6th gear action, kind of nice as well. So hopefully we get to see a little bit more out of him this season. I want to jump over and talk a little bit about the Quinnen Williams news because we didn't get to hear from Green Bean last week. Quinnen Williams removed the Jets from his Twitter bio, saying he is a defensive tackle for the ... And all the drama ensued, and people were like, oh man, what's going on? What's going to happen? We're at the point of voluntary workouts. Quinnen Williams is not participating. He is holding out from there. Now, he did mention that he would hold out of voluntary workouts at the end of last year. So I'm curious to see when we get to that June 13th, 14th, 15th mandatory portion, does he actually show up for those 3 days, or does he kind of blow off those 3 days and then ultimately it goes to training camp? I don't think he's going to have a deal done by June 13th, 14th, 15th. I think it is going to wind up happening closer to training camp. I think that's more of the critical deadline that would push to get things done. Matt, what are your thoughts on Quinnen Williams at this point? Because I don't want Green Bean to steal all your thunder.
Yeah, it was smart. It was a good shift. I like what you did.
I like that. I do like going to me first on this one. Yeah, not a whole lot's changed since the last time we spoke on it. He hasn't, just decided to show up to OTAs. I'm still like, I get it. This is unfortunately how negotiations happen in 2023. But I'll spend my time by talking about how I thought it was cool that Robert Saleh pretty much put to bed any fear that anyone might have on it not getting done. He called them, he's like, what do you call him, Q-tip or Big Q? He called them something, I don't know. And it was like, yeah, he's having a kid. You know, we wish him the best of luck there. And he's like, he'll be here. He's not worried about it. And you know, we're still so far out from July and training camp from when this will actually matter. So, you know, when you get to July, you worry about it. Now, not really an issue. And I think Saleh coming out and, you know, speaking so confidently gives me hope that this gets done relatively soon.
Green Bean, what about you? What are your thoughts on the Quinnen Williams removal of the Jets from his Twitter, and then, you know, ultimately the contract and the holdout and everything that's going on right now?
All right, let me just, before I answer that, I want to let everybody know I've been collecting your comments. Like, you know, we're doing it a little different. The T-shirt giveaway, we're collecting good comments because we don't have super chats or any of that sort of stuff. So I'm actually writing down the comments. This is a fantastic. I'm having the best time ever. Writing down some of your fucking ridiculousness. So if you got a good comment and you put it out there, I'm scouring the chat for T-shirt qualifiers. So, and I'll read a few of the finer ones later on when we do this, but it's fun. Anyway, the Quinnen thing, you know, I talked about it a little bit last week with you guys. You know, we all talked about it a little bit, but I think it really boils down to this new generation, man. You know what I mean? Like an old head like myself, and I have my group of old heads. We get together and we grumble about the state of the world, and and it's just, I wish that they would all shut up. All right, I do. I wish we could just stop with this dramatic stuff. But the truth is that this is the way of the world right now. And I wouldn't be surprised if this was a negotiating tactic, at minimum supported by the agent, if not even encouraged and designed by agents to kind of stir that up. I think it was on Matt O'Leary's, this week didn't come out yet. So last week, I think it was, when he talked about, and then right after that on the heels, we get a report of what Quinnen's asking for, 25 to 30 million. That more than likely came from the Jets. Hey, release this. This is, so there's a little back and forth, and they use the media to play this game. Quinnen taking his, unfollowing the Jets and all that sort of stuff. I want to remind everybody, it can be rectified in a matter of 30 seconds. He can do all of it. Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. He can refollow in less than a minute. Boop, bop, beep, bop, boop. And that's all done. It's over. You know what I mean? So it doesn't mean anything. There's nothing substantial. He didn't burn physically burn the bridge. You can't get, he's not stuck on the other side of the raging river. There's none of that. It's just a click on Instagram. Like, that's all it is. And I think that it's by design. And look, in his instance, let's not forget, man, he's one of the premier defensive tackles in the AFC right now, if not the NFL, right? He's largely, widely considered, maybe right behind Aaron Donald at this moment. This is his time to get the contract. He's going to go into his fifth year with zero security. They all do this. They want some security. Theoretically, he could come out, blow his knee out, and then never get a second contract and end up playing for vet minimum. This is the time. This is the contract that he's all but insured. Go for it, dude. Get your money. Do what you got to do. Now, he's got to be realistic with the team. He can't want to, get more than Aaron Donald. I mean, Aaron Donald has been, his record stands for itself. He's in a league of his own, and Quinnen Williams doesn't have those accolades yet, quite like Aaron Donald. But I think this is the time where he should be putting his foot down and saying, dude, I'm not playing another snap until I get my contract. It sucks for us. I wish Joe Douglas just kind of took care of it last year before the other defensive tackles got their money. Maybe we could have got him for 23 or something like that. Ain't happening. He's going to get 25, maybe a little bit more. And I think that it'll all get done. I'm not really worried, albeit I wish it would happen. My concern is that he goes into training camp, halfway through and he's not in football shape, and that injury stuff, he pulls a hammy. I don't want to see that scenario play out. That's more my concern than the idea that he won't be here. The trades, all these articles came out with potential trading partners. I'm like, where the fuck did that come from? Like, what is this? What happened? It's a tweet. You know what I mean? That's all it is. But that's the world we live in, man. And we can choose to react or not react any way that we want to. If you're looking for a reason to get upset, the Jets will give it to you. That's kind of where it is. I'm not really all that worried.
Yeah, I don't see any situation where Quinnen Williams is not a Jet this year and next year. Like, at the very least, like, worst case scenario, like, let's say this contract doesn't get done, like, we're going to keep him for these runs with Aaron Rodgers at the very least. But Quinnen deserves to get paid. He's absolutely balled out. We saw what his numbers were like with, far less snaps than the other guys in his class that got paid. So it stands to reason if you see him for a little bit more, or maybe in more pass rush situations, because obviously the Jets being behind in a few games, that kind of eliminates that ability to sack the quarterback when it's being handed off to the running back. I think Quinnen is really poised for a big year. I think he knows it. I think the Jets know it. I think they're ultimately going to get this done. Matt, any more thoughts on Quinnen Williams?
Yeah, you're right. They know that he is super important to this defense. He's coming off a monster year. You drafted him. He's done everything right. They'll pay him. I'm not really worried about it.
Greenbean, did we ever get a chance to talk about the primetime games that the Jets have? I know we did our panel on here the night of the schedule release, but now that we've had, I guess what it would be, 2 weeks of kind of like thinking about it, Jets are the Jets are going to have primetime games against the Bills, Chiefs, Chargers, Raiders, and Browns. Bills Monday night, Chargers Sunday night. Bills Monday night, Chiefs Sunday night, Chargers Monday night, Raiders Sunday night, and then Browns Thursday night. And then we also have the 3 p.m. Black Friday game as well. What are your thoughts about the primetime games coming up, and which one are you most excited about?
Well, in honesty, I don't love it. I want my 1 o'clock games. I'm a creature of habit. So there's all that, right? Like, I like it. It fits my schedule. It's like I can mow the lawn or something, you know what I mean? And get there for the game. And then I get to bed on time, and is all that stuff, right? I like 1 o'clock football. That all said, I have to say, when the Jets were good back in 2009, 2010, or in the Parcells years, it wasn't quite like this. We didn't have some Thursday football quite like it was, whatever. But seeing the Jets like beat the Vikings, I think that was a Monday night game when Brett Favre, he was our quarterback, went over to the Vikings and we beat him on a Dwight Lowery pick six, I think it was. But that shit's exciting, and there is something about that, like that national spotlight. I like the idea of starting the season Monday night against the Bills at home. It sucks I can't be there because I've been at every opening game for the last 4 or 5 years, opening day. So I'm very saddened by that fact. I can't pull it together for this one. So that's unfortunate. But as far as the Jets, playing, the what's the word I'm looking for? Not the format, the whatever.
Schedule?
The stage.
Stage.
Oh.
I
didn't know where you was going.
No, I had no clue.
You have no idea. You never know where I'm going. I'm like, no, bananas. But so I think it's cool, man. I think, the Jets, we showed last year we were close. We were a team on the ascend. We couldn't get it together. We were a quarterback down. Our defense was holding teams to 1 touchdown, no touchdowns, and we were still losing. And we added one of the best quarterbacks in NFL history, who threw for almost 4,000 yards, 26 touchdowns last year. So I think there's a lot of reason for this excitement. And I think it's an opportunity to kind of, as we attempt to change the culture and change the narrative and give us something to be proud of for once, And like, I mean, all these people, I mean, dude, it's been 12 years. There are 20-something-year-old fans who've never known the Jets as anything but the whipping boy of the league. You know what I mean? Like, that's what we are. So it accelerates that opportunity to kind of show the world that we're here to lose our foot in your ass. And I think that's exciting as long as we can do it. The worst thing in the world is to be like the Jaguars, make it to the AFC Championship game. They get a bunch of primetime games and then they win 4 games. You know what I mean? That's the worst. When you're on Monday night and Sunday and you're the worst team in the league. Like, that shit sucks. I got to admit, I'm still damaged PTSD Jets fan, and I still think about that stuff. That said, I'm all bought in, and I believe in this team, so I think it's going to be exciting to rework my schedule and figure out how to watch these games at night. You know, Thursday nights are the worst, but we'll figure it out. It's going to be exciting to watch our team with the rest of the league and show them, hey, we mean business.
Not to mention, we just heard news, what was it, yesterday, about the league saying you can now flex Thursday night games with 28 days notice beforehand. Like, that's great for the NFL. It's great for, you know, revenue and sponsors, but it's a real kick in the balls to any fans that were planning to attend the game and now have to change flights or change, you know, accommodations because you've now flexed them out of Thursday night or into like a different day of the week. Matt, what are your thoughts on that?
I hate the idea of being able to flex a game into Thursday night or out of Thursday night. And just for that reason, like you said, you don't know what someone's situation is. That's the one game a year they're able to go to. They have it planned out. Oh, we got, you know, we're going on a flight, we're taking a drive, we're doing whatever to get to the stadium to see, you know, whatever team. And it's, moved it to Sunday. It's like, well, now, like, you're screwed. It does a really bad job by the fans, but I think the NFL's kind of shown time and time again they don't really care about their fans all that much.
Yeah, no, it's all about the money. It's all about that bottom line. I think that's, I'm going to die on this hill, but I think that's why the Rodgers trade happened now instead of a little bit later into the season. We wouldn't have to worry about a calf injury because he wouldn't be here yet. We'd have an extra 2 draft picks, or we'd have a tackle, plus we'd have a second-round pick. I need to get off my crying.
Living in the past, man.
Oh, it is what it is. I don't know what to tell you. I saw a good comment in here. Where did I see it? Oh, Hater says the holdup on the Quinnen contract appears to be about length. I believe Quinnen and Nicole are seeking 3 years. Joe may want 5 or 6. What say you? I completely agree. I do think Quinnen wants the wants the fewer amount of years in terms of contract because he's going to be able to cash in again in just 2-3 years time, especially because the salary cap is going to explode this next offseason with the TV contracts kicking in, all the streaming deals that are going to happen. Like, it's to a young player's benefit, especially if they play a position that, you know, isn't stereotypically a highly injured position. Like when you're talking about, you know, cornerbacks, running backs, wide receivers, like guys that could put a bad juke on, they lose an ACL for like the season. Like I feel like you don't necessarily see those types of injuries. Now, I guess you do have those, like the Achilles fear with the high burst guys like Lawson and stuff. But with Quinnen and his age, I think him getting a shorter contract makes the most sense. And if I'm Douglas, like, hey, if I'm paying you a premium of $25 million a year, when I have you under contract for the next 3 years at $18 million a year, why am I going to give you, on top of that $7 million raise per season, the benefit of having a shorter term contract? Like, if I'm giving you that premium, I want extra years to make it worth our while on that side of things too. Like, I have no problem paying you. I'll even give you more guaranteed money to give you the extended years. Like, I think that's where the middle ground could be with the Quinnen Williams contract. Greenby, did you hear this and about the length of contract, and what are your kind of thoughts on if it's the years, not necessarily the dollars?
Yeah, I think that would be something that could be a sticking point. You know, I mean, I think it's realistic to believe that's the case. I think it's more than likely has to do with the money as well. You know what I mean? Maybe the actual number, not just the years, but I'm sure the years are a part of it. So Quinnen seeking a lesser deal as far as this report goes, that could make some sense too, because, you know, then he can get a potentially, you know, another contract that's that big. You know, that's where it kind of gets away from me a little bit. Like, all right, you're going to get $25 million a year, let's say, for 4 years, or we get it for 3 years and then we can get a bigger one. Like, I don't know. I think how much are we going to let that dictate everything? Like, is that all that matters anymore? Like, I don't know. I think if the team's willing to lock you up for 4 years, 5 years at $26 million a year, take it, man, and move on. Like, what are we talking about here? But that's me. I mean, this is beyond me anyway. I'm going to share with you guys. I don't think I'll ever make $25 million. I mean, I've been working my ass off for a long time. I still haven't reached that number, and collectively. So, it's kind of out of my sphere of, I can't really relate, but at the same time, I feel pretty strongly that $25 million a year for 4 years is pretty good. It's pretty good. But I get it. And, I could see that being the sticking point. Which is interesting because usually the team, like what with Lamar Jackson, the team wanted shorter years and Lamar wanted to lock in longer years. So it's interesting to see
at premium dollars too. It's like it was premium dollars and years as opposed to maybe lesser money or something like that. Or
like you say to Quinnen, like, all right, look, you wanted 3-year contract, we want to lock you up for 5 years. You want 3 years, we give you less. I mean, I doubt they're going to be like, ha 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 ha. That ain't the way this works, sir. But he's going to get his money, and I know I'd like to see him with a 4-year contract because that would make Quinnen Williams a Jet for 8 years, and I can buy a friggin' jersey. That's my motivation. I just want a fucking jersey. Somebody that's here for more than 2 seasons.
I bit the bullet. I ordered a Rodgers jersey. I found that like gray jersey with like the green letter. I was like, that's kind of cool. That's different. I'm going to get that one. Maybe I won't have bad luck with the quarterback. I didn't buy it. Well, I guess I sort of bought a Zach Wilson jersey. I bought like a knockoff Zach Wilson jersey. I was like, maybe this is what's doing it. I bought the Darnold jersey, the legit one, and bit me in the butt. Matt, what are your thoughts on the Quinnen Williams contract and possibly the years being the issue more so than the dollars?
That's interesting because if they do go on the shorter term on a deal, you guys are, I mean, you mentioned it, but you're right. He could cash in again because he would still be young and in his prime. He'd be 27, 28 at that point instead of closer to 30. Like you're getting another nice payday at 27 rather than, 28, 29, whatever. So I understand from his perspective. I also get it from the Jets side. They're probably saying like, all these deals have been 4 for whatever, that we're good with that, but we don't want to go to 3. So I think they end up settling in that middle ground with the $4 million. And I do think it gets to $25 million a year.
Yeah, I think there's a level of confidence that puts in the player as well. Not to mention, I think he's clearly at least better than the guys that recently got paid. And we mentioned before, Aaron Donald is one of one. I've said it before. I think he's the best defensive player that I've ever seen. I didn't get to watch Lawrence Taylor. I know a lot of people are going to say him, but you look at Green, you could probably attest to both these guys. But Aaron Donald, defensive rookie of the year. He's been an all-pro like 7 of 9 seasons. I think he's been to the Pro Bowl every single one of his seasons. Just a decorated career. I think he's 3-time defensive player of the year too, like the only player to ever do that. Like when we talk about Quinnen Williams getting the second largest contract, it's very clearly because Aaron Donald is just a freak. Like he is so far beyond any other defensive tackle that we've seen in a very, very long time. Green Bean, what are your thoughts on, I guess, Aaron Donald maybe versus Lawrence Taylor?
Lawrence Taylor, I'm with it. I think Aaron Donald is in a league of his own. I really do. And I don't think too many people argue that. He's just so ridiculously special. And you can see it, on the field. I mean, he's you know what? Even in this Super Bowl, right? Like it was him that like he's not just a stat compiler. Like he knows how to do it at the right moment. Like he has all that stuff, which Quinnen has too. But Aaron Donald, I think, like you said, rookie of the year, numerous all pros. Quinnen, he's getting there. Who knows? Maybe from here on out, he's an all pro every year. Who knows, right? And I think he can do that. But Aaron Donald is still different. Lawrence Taylor, on the other hand, as much as I hate to say it, I mean, enough time has elapsed that I can speak freely. I hated Lawrence Taylor like I hated few other players. And he almost ran me over at the Giants practice one year at Fairleigh Dickinson before the Jets took over that facility and made it one Jets drive. the Giants used to practice there, and I used to go out there with my dad because it was only 20 minutes from my house. But he almost ran me. He almost killed me. I mean, for real. And he just didn't even. He was like, "What's up, dude?" Like it was like nothing. You know what I mean? I've run into Lawrence Taylor numerous times in my life. But as far as this is what he's a 2-time Super Bowl champion. He's a NFL MVP 86, 3-time NFL Defensive Player of the Year. So he's defensive MVP. He was an MVP. Defensive Rookie of the Year, 8-time First Team All-Pro, Second Team All-Pro, 2 more years, 10-time Pro Bowler, sack leader 86, All-Decade Team, all those kinds of things. He's in the Ring of Honor. 2 times.
That's when you were able to do a bunch of lines of coke. I feel like there wasn't as much drug testing going on then.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, cocaine. If you handle it right, it can be a helper. Not for me. I didn't get that response. I turned into
don't like it. Just love the way it smells.
Yeah, that's right. I just want to smell it.
Oh no,
I don't do coke. I just like the way it smells. That's such a good one. But I mean, LT quite literally changed the game. I don't know if Aaron Donald is doing that. Like it seems so second nature to us now with that swipe of the quarterback's hand, but nobody did that. Like it happened from time to time, but LT, that was a part of his game. It was just something that he showed the NFL, like, look, this is what we can do. And he quite literally changed it. And he was this roaming guy. Parcells let him just kind of roam around the defense and pick where he wanted. And he just destroyed teams, man. He was terrible to watch if you hated him. You know what I mean? And I remember that was the years, man. Like in high school and junior high school, like the Giants fans in my town were brutal. And 56 is what I saw everywhere, man. I hated him so much, but the truth is that he was arguably, the best defensive player of all time. And while Aaron Donald is certainly in that conversation, I don't see him changing the game. He's just very, very good at what he does, but he didn't bring that wrinkle. It's like OBJ, interestingly enough, another Giant, with that one-handed catching kind of practice thing that he did with the jugs. Now every player does that. It's second. They're doing it in high school. Like my son's high school, they're doing that shit. Like they're practicing catching the ball, like throw it at my face and catching it with one hand, with the left hand too. That wasn't something that anybody was doing. OBJ changed the game as much as I hate him too. So anyway, I think the LT conversation, when you bring him into the mix, you got to remember there's that. He wasn't just great. He changed it. The game was different after him. And I don't know if Aaron Donald is doing that. Maybe I'm wrong, but I don't necessarily see it the same way.
I think that's a fair argument. The way pass rushers have evolved to be such a lethal part of a defense, and I do think defensive tackles to a lesser, I don't want to say a lesser extent, but to a similar extent, just maybe you're not getting the strip sacks, but collapsing a pocket inward into a quarterback's face, I feel like is relatively it's different, but it's an impact. But the way I hear people talk about LT is just like otherworldly, like just a complete animal of a person. I'd love to see LT chasing down some of like these quarterbacks, like a Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, like instead of like the statues that were then, but like phenomenal football players. When you're talking about these two guys, they're two of like the very best we've ever seen.
Yeah, and it's a great point too. I think maybe the word you were looking for, correct me if I'm wrong, with the interior defensive line pass rush is maybe underrated. Like that pressure up the middle is really underrated, like how impactful that can be. And you know what? It was actually one of your videos recently, Ryan, that you talked, I think it was with Al Woods. You were talking about the PFF stat of stops. Right. Like, so there's a stat stops. Like you look at these guys, these defensive tackles, and they have, 21 tackles in a season and 2.5 sacks. And you think, but he has 65 stops. And what does that mean? So like a lot of the time, like, so they're trying to run between the guard and the center, but the defensive tackle shut that down. They had to bounce it to the outside, and the linebacker gets the tackle, and yay, everybody's cheering the linebacker. But that doesn't happen without the defensive tackle, and it goes unnoticed by the average fan. And really a lot of even stat guys, they don't even look at it. It's like, who made the tackle? And the fact that PFF started to at least, and I'm not the biggest PFF guy, as many of you know, but they started collecting that stuff. And a guy like Al Woods, yeah, sure, he had 30, I think it was 39 tackles, something like that, but he had 60-something stops, and that shows his real impact. It's like, these defensive tackles in the middle, a lot of the stats that are, going to the safeties and the linebackers and the defensive ends, without the defensive tackle being exceptional at what they're doing, it doesn't happen. Or, if they suck, if they're like a Nathan Shepard or somebody, they just, they run right through it. And then, it's a cornerback making the tackle instead of Jermaine Johnson or what have you. So I think that's a really interesting thing to look at as well. And Aaron Donald, I mean, I don't know what his stats. His stats are ridiculous. So I wonder, it would be interesting to look at, how many stops he's getting as well. How many plays is he ruining when he doesn't make the tackle? In addition to the lofty stats that he compiles, how many plays is he just utterly destroying for an offense? You know what I mean?
I'm trying to find that right now.
I know, I thought you would. As soon as I said, I'm like, Aaron, Ryan's going to find it.
33 last year. Stops.
That's wild. That's awesome.
So there's another 33 plays that nobody talks about that Aaron Donald contributed and had an impact on the game.
Almost 50 the year prior in 2021. 49. That's crazy, man. Oh my god.
Yeah.
I found an interesting stat, and I guess depending on what position you're looking at, it has points saved or like points earned and stuff like that. So I guess somehow they determined that Aaron Donald by himself last year saved 29 points for the Rams. And the year before that was 56. I'd have to go into exactly how they determined that. Let me see if I could find it. There's a glossary for this. Pass defense.
Oh, and by the way, too, he did that in 33 stops in 11 games. He missed 6.
Yeah.
That's nuts.
That's insane.
Jesus. Yeah.
What was that one?
He did it in
stops.
11 games.
Yeah.
Last year. So he had 33 stops and missed 6 games.
Right, exactly. Holy cow.
Points,
what did Quinnen have?
So while you're looking that up, Matt, I'll tell you the breakdown of what this is. Points saved is for run defense. The total of a player's earned points or EPA responsibility on run plays using the total point system that distributes credit among all players on the field for a given play, with the positive numbers being good. For run defense, that includes accounting for defenders in the box, blown blocks, forced, broken tackles, turnovers, and turnover returns. So I guess Donald, I don't know, 29 points is what he saved. However they attribute that. It seems like a magical number.
Quinnen had 32 last year.
All right. Not bad. Not bad.
What was Donald, 33 or 31?
33 in 11 games.
In 11 games. So Quinnen was
16.
great, and he missed, what, a game and a half?
Yeah, exactly.
Wild. If that doesn't tell you he's on another level, that's insane.
Right.
His birthday today.
Yeah.
Aaron Donald. 32.
Is it really?
Happy birthday, Aaron Donald.
Happy birthday, Aaron Donald. Love to see it. I'm looking through the chat, seeing if we got anything else popping up people are talking about.
Paris, 1189 Paris said that he thinks LT was high when he almost ran me over as a kid.
Is water wet?
I know. I know someone whose wife got to hot tub with Lawrence Taylor, and I was like, I don't know how that worked out.
Oh my God.
I guess he wears it as a badge of honor. Little Eskimo brothers. Maybe.
Yeah, I don't know. I wouldn't.
Yeah,
talk
I don't
about
know.
that one.
Yeah, I wouldn't. I don't think I'd tell anybody that.
Yeah, I'd be saying to my wife, "Hey, listen, you got to stop telling that story.
Yeah.
Like,
Any
yeah, I
other
don't- I
story you
don't-
got? Any other stories? Fair game, man. Can we stop with the fucking LT hot tub thing, please?" There was a time I ran into. I was heading down to AC, and I ran into LT. Me and my friends, we ran into LT at a rest stop on the Parkway, and we had a little conversation. Just a short, a minute. Shooting the shit with him. He was funny and made us laugh and everything. And then we went down. I was going to see Roy Jones Jr. fight Vinny Pazienza, and we had really good seats, like, I don't know, 10th row or something like that. And LT came and sat 2 rows in front of us. And we were like, "Hey," and he goes, "Hey guys, what are you doing? Follow me around?" It was funny. Anyway, he was kind of a loose dude. Like, anytime other than the time I ran into him, I thought he almost ran me over. I mean, he was always so cool. He was. I ran into him quite a few times actually, but he was always loose and a fun guy. I mean, he's a partier, so I guess that comes with the territory. But he was I hated him, but later on, he's a good dude overall, I think. What I got.
Hawk says, if we're doing a mock draft, the first defensive player I'm taking is Ray Lewis. Just his motivational locker room speeches to hype up the other guys are worth it enough. Interesting. I don't know. I still think I'm taking LT or Donald or even Ed Reed. I guess I dislike Ray Lewis a little bit because I definitely think he got away with a little bit there at the beginning part of his career. And
What did he get away with?
Not good things.
No comment.
No comment.
Okay.
I don't know. Green Bean, who would you take if you had to take the first defensive player in a draft? Is it LT?
Yeah, probably, man. I think. I mean, I hate to say it. I think he's probably the best ever. I mean, he's one of the greatest NFL players ever. Like, I love, obviously, 𝐒𝐿 and Gastineau, and they're in the conversation too. But I think, LT was on another level, man. I mean, he was, and the team fed off of him. He was like this animal. He was uncontainable. I mean, even guys like, I remember, watching guys like, I watched like the end. Granted, I was a newer fan, but I remember like the end of the Steel Curtain and like those guys, and Jack Lambert, and then the Mike Singletary. I remember Mike Singletary was another animal, and those guys were great. But again, I don't recall them changing the game. And there's something to that, man. Like, when the game is one way and then you bring this player in and he has such an impact that the entire league looks at it and goes, we need to do that. And then everybody is doing that. That's something. And I think LT in his prime was, I got to say, maybe second to none on the defense. Dom C says Green Bean is taking Joe 𝐒𝐿. I don't know, man. I mean, he's in the conversation, and then my heart might win the day, and I might do just that. But I don't know. I think
Snoopy says, I want my middle linebacker to be a stone cold killer. I don't know what Ryan's talking about. It's a good way to put that.
Yeah, killer.
Phil says Deion Sanders dominated. That's a great one, too, for a defensive player.
Deion Sanders.
Yeah. If I'm building a secondary, like Deion Sanders, Ed Reed, Darrelle Revis, those are 3 of like the top of my list. I don't know who the other one would be. Sauce.
Yeah, Revis.
You got Revis, you got Ed Reed, you got Deion Sanders, and Sauce on the other side.
Yeah. What about
same conversation?
Or like for strong safety, man, like Ronnie Lott, dude. There's nothing like him.
Yeah, I guess if you were going like a thumper in the middle of the field, any of those.
He got his picks
crafty
too.
guys.
I got to look that up. I want to look at his stats. Ronnie Lott.
Sorry,
Polamalu, I hear people saying.
Oh, Palomalu's another one. Holy shit, dude. He was so
I love saying
annoyingly
Polomolecules, like the old Head and Shoulders commercials. I was talking about that, like, I think today at work. We were kind of joking about it.
Dude,
Ryan,
Ronnie Lott has 63 interceptions.
Holy hell. That's nuts.
Yeah, 9 postseason interceptions, 8 All-Pro, 10 Pro Bowls. I mean, even when he came to the Jets, I couldn't believe, like, that first year of free agency in 92, it was like, they fought for free agency. Everybody thought it was the end of the NFL. And all of a sudden, like, the Jets go and get Leonard Marshall from the Giants, who that was, he was a big deal at the time. And then we got Ronnie Lott, and then Boomer Esiason. Like, I couldn't believe that Ronnie Lott was there. I couldn't even believe it was real. And then we drafted Marvin Jones. Oh my God, dude. I was like, I couldn't contain myself. Ronnie Lott was still good, but dude, that guy, he was on another level too, man. As far as like strong safeties go, I mean, he would knock your head off, and he was a threat to pick the ball off. He was like a all around, he was terrifying for offenses back there. He's another one.
It's crazy to think like how different the NFL was prior to 92, prior to free agency, prior to the salary cap, prior to the shrinking of the draft down from, what was it, 15 rounds down to 7 rounds. Like, totally different game back then. The introduction of the salary cap changed everything.
Yeah, I don't even remember. Like, I was a diehard fan. I was deep in. I was season ticket holder, before. Like, I don't even remember how we did it. Like, I don't even remember what it was. It's hard for me to remember. How did players, like, they were kind of stuck with their teams. They couldn't just leave unless the team didn't want them or something like that. I don't even really remember how it was. Like, that's how entrenched this new, like, the free agency thing is. I remember when they introduced like the franchise tag. I thought you could use it once, period. Mm-hmm. Like one time you get a franchise. I'm like, what? Like, I don't know. I remember it was like so foreign, and now it's like so ingrained. I can't even remember what the NFL was like before that. It's weird.
Yankee Jet says, what do you guys think of the new fair catch rule? So did you guys see that? It's, I guess, is it all fair catches go out to the 25 now on kickoffs?
Is that what it is?
On a
something
kickoff,
like that.
Yeah.
So, like, if you fair catch a pooch punt, does that put you back to the 25?
I'm pulling up the exact wording on it now, but okay. The new rule specifies that the fair catch off a free kick, safety, or kickoff must occur behind the team's 25-yard line in order for the ball to be placed at the 25. So if someone punts it down to the 3 and you fair catch it, you're getting the ball at the 25. That's
sucks.
taking away a kicker or punter who does a great job.
That is fucking bullshit.
Yeah,
that
ridiculous.
Is a dumb rule, everybody. Why?
Yeah. I mean, I would tell my kick returner, no matter what, call a fair catch. Like, you're always, the 25 is always going to be better for the most part. Like very rarely are they getting past the 25 at this point. And you're telling me you can like protect everyone's body as well? Yeah, let's do that.
They might as well just not do the kickoffs. They might as
Agreed.
well
I've been saying that for years.
At this point.
Get rid of the kickoffs. Let's make it either just give it to them on the 25. I feel like right now it's more of a ceremonial thing than anything else. Like the only kickoff that really matters at this point now is like the kickoff at the Super Bowl when all the flashes go off and everything. But other than that, it's like ridiculous.
Wait, but that's only on kickoffs, not punts.
Yes, correct. Matt said safeties and kickoffs.
All right, well, that's a little better. But
yeah,
still,
but not
man,
by
if
much.
The kicker,
like
but think
if
about
it goes
if
to the 24
chokes,
and you call a fair catch, you're gaining a yard.
But think about it too. Like, I mean, if the kicker chokes a little bit and he kicks it to you on your 5-yard line, like you want, I don't know, man. Like, I don't know. It's an opportunity. It's silliness.
Yeah, I'd like to see them at this point. The kickoff has been one of my favorite plays for a long time, and for the last probably 5 years, I'm kind of soured on it. Like, I would rather see no kickoff than a neutered version of it, because it doesn't feel like it has the same juice that it had, early 2000s through 2010 or 11 even. Whenever Hester finished his career. Actually, Hester, I think, finished his career in like 2015 or 16. I was shocked it went that long.
Yeah, he hung around for a while.
You'll never see someone quite like that again. That was such a lethal weapon Like he really created like that extra special teams unit was so strong.
I miss that from like, I don't know. I feel like that's the era that, I mean, early 2000s that I grew up with. Devin Hester, Dante Hall.
Yeah. Yep. Chad Morton, Santana Moss, friggin' all these guys that were.
Josh Cribbs.
Lots of good kick returners. Miss it. I definitely miss that. And even the onside kick, too. The onside kick sucks. Like, I want to get rid of that. Make that a 4th and 15. Change the percentage.
You hate it because it's so unlikely to work?
Yeah, it's so rare. I think it's like a 2% chance now. That's what was so exciting when the Jets got it. But, like, you want to have, like, whatever the old onside kick was. Like, let's call it 15 or 20% chance of getting it. Like, create a 4th and whatever yardage that is equivalent to that same percentage chance. And then just do that. And then you just continue your drive.
Yeah.
Right? Like if you get the 4th and 15 or whatever it is and you don't get it, okay, the other team's going the other way. If you get it, now it's first down.
But where do they start the ball? That's the thing with...
The same. You kick it off, let's say the 30 or 35, whatever yard line you want to do. You have to gain 15 yards from wherever that kickoff would be. And if you don't get the 15 yards, now all of a sudden the other team is on your 30, 35 yard line going the opposite direction. Same way an onside kick would work. Like if you get the onside kick, you have a first down, you keep going. If you convert the 4th and 15, you keep on going. If you don't get it, it's a turnover on downs, just like the onside kick would be.
Interesting.
Right?
Yeah.
I think that would be good. I'd like to see that.
We were just talking kick returners, and I wanted to bring up Josh Cribbs. I don't know why. I went to Dante Hall, Devin Hester, and Josh Cribbs. But while on Josh Cribbs' page, I came to something that I would classify as downright shocking news because I have no recollection of this. Did you know that Josh Cribbs was a Jet?
I did. For like 2 years, a year or two, I think.
Oh.
It was in
6 games.
No shit, really?
In 2013, for 6 games, Josh Cribbs returned.
That does ring a bell.
I have zero memory of him ever being in a Jet uniform.
Well, that was the shit season, wasn't it? Wasn't that the year we wound up getting Geno? We had the 2 first-round picks. We lost Revis and everything. I think that was that year.
Yeah, they went 8-8.
Well, that couldn't have been that year. That had to be the year after. That must have been the year we got. That was probably Geno's first year, right?
Yeah, Geno's
I
first
have
year,
no
2013.
recollection of Braylon Edwards coming back to the Jets in 2000.
I remember that too.
That was
Very,
2012.
very briefly. I loved Braylon. I was so pissed when we got Holmes instead of when we
Yeah, me
kept
too.
Holmes instead of Edwards. He was everything I wanted a Jet receiver to be.
Everything. I loved him. He had such a great 2010 too. It made no sense.
Doing the
when we brought
Dougie
him
over that
back-
Patriots corner. That felt so
my
good.
God. But we
was all Jets.
brought him back. He had like 9 catches for us too, or something. I don't even remember that at all. It's crazy.
I remember being excited about it, and then it just not panning out.
Weird. All right.
That
it's
was
10
one of those
o'clock.
trades. That was a fun trade. Oh, yeah, we are at 10 o'clock. Same with the Percy Harvin trade. I was super excited to watch Percy Harvin in a Jet uniform. Crazy fast. And then he had all those migraines and like didn't play at all. That sucked.
Yeah. I had high hopes for Percy Harvin too. But
I remember
all right.
listening to the K Show, and Rex was on the K Show, and they're talking to him. They're like, Rex, we're getting word that you guys just traded for Percy Harvin. And he's just like, yeah, that actually just came down. I was like, wow, he's live on air when this news broke.
Crazy.
Interesting.
I didn't remember that.
Oh, yeah. I was
Yeah,
driving
he
to
didn't
work.
work
That's the
out
only
here
reason I
either.
know. All right.
But
hit,
it was indicative of like the way we used to do things. You know what I mean? Like we would like take these crazy
Cromartie,
stabs.
bam.
Yeah, like these big
Loved
names that are kind of toast. You know what I mean? And it's
that's what I wanted to see like this year though. Like it's that same mindset of like, okay, we're going for a ring. Jason Taylor, Antonio Cromartie,
LT.
the defensive tackle that we got from Carolina, Chris Jenkins, like all these guys that were just like building block, building block, building block, building block for like a 2-year stretch, but they're like leadership and like still hungry for a ring. Like those are the types of players I want this year and next year. That's what I want.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I mean, I think we did that. We got Aaron Rodgers, so it's big.
Aaron Rodgers is equivalent to like multiple Jason Taylors and
Right. You know what I mean?
I get it.
Yeah, I like the way we're doing it. We had predominantly young, sprinkled
Shave
in
off a few
vet-
years from Aaron Rodgers, sprinkle a few years over some of the other guys.
Yeah,
Right?
there you go. There you go.
All right. Green Bean, give us some names. How many names you got written down over there and what comments you got?
Well, let's see. I don't know how many I got, but all right, we got Braden from New Zealand. He started it early, and when he heard that the comments were gonna get him qualified, he said Green Bean is a pro YouTuber. That did it. That's good. Good enough to get in.
I feel like this is rigged.
Red John, before I was writing down the comments, he had that wide receiver comment that got us talking, so he's in there. Rico the Pup said, I wish fatness was an injury designation. That's fun. Jet Freely said, Becton almost ate himself out of a job. Shut the F up and play. Adam
saw
S
that
said,
one in there.
Yeah. Adam S said Green Bean has a great memory. That's good enough too. King Blaze said Jets forever be on shrooms all day. That's good enough for me. Basil Williams said Mims is better than he looked last season. That got me. That's good enough. I'll take it. Tony Alexio, yeah, right. It's quality. Tony Alexio said I want Strebler as the backup. That's good. That's good enough. Dark Soldier, when we were talking about the Quinnen contract, said thanks Obama. That's good. That's good enough for me.
I love those memes.
Yeah, I know, it's so good. Thanks, Obama. Jets forever makes it in with Ruck is greater than Kelsey. That's
Elite.
good.
Love it. Facts.
Yeah, why not? Dirty old bastard Walt, who I think left, but he said 1 p.m. games are good because you can get rid of the stress of a loss before you go to bed. I agree. That's good. Jay Claus said premier money requires premier length of years. If he wants a shorter term, he gets less money. I'm with you there. And Paris, 1189 Paris said LT must have been high when he almost ran over Green Bean. So there you go. That's our list for tonight. And I don't know how many that is.
So that's probably like a solid 50. I actually really enjoyed that. We might have to do a little bit more of that at some point in the future.
Yeah.
That was fun.
There were a few more, guys I had on there, but I didn't write the comments down, so it is what it is. This is our list, but yeah, it's new. I had to. It was developing as we went on.
We got to get Nightbot back too. I feel lonely not seeing Nightbot pop up throughout the chat.
Right, Nightbot.
I completely forgot about that. That's what happens when you start a new channel and you're like, what did we forget? I was trying to hit my keypad to trigger the freeze bean thing, and I couldn't. Oh, hey, it worked.
Oh, there you go. Yay.
Hey.
Sorry, Green. Can I get you back? There we go. Now he's back.
There it is. Okay, it was cold.
I was clicking things,
Cold
didn't
in
know what
there.
was going on.
Now Nightbot is a female, right? I don't know why I see Nightbot
Sure.
as a female.
Yeah, why not?
I miss her.
I like
Nice
it.
having her around.
We could have a her. Statistically speaking, like 0.5% of at least my viewers are female, so that could be one of the 0.5.
Yeah. I got up to I think it was 1%.
Wow,
Yeah,
it's that silver mania you got going.
That's right. I'm a looker, man. I attract the ladies.
How
All
are
right,
we?
let's do this thing. I got to go to
we
bed,
gotta-
man.
We got to figure out how are we going to pick a shirt? Someone give us a number. Give us a number 1
Yeah.
through 15. First number that pops up, 1 through 15 in the chat.
There it is.
All right. Let's see. What do we
What do you mean there it is? I haven't seen anything yet. 16.
13.
16 is the number.
Well, I thought there was only 15.
There's only 15. So
I don't know. If there's only 15, just go back to the top.
There's literally 15. I don't know how you did that, Ryan.
That was purely a guess.
69. All right, so 13 it is, Dark Soldier. So no, you didn't win, but you're the guy that. All right, Jay Claus wins.
Jay Claus.
J. Claus, you in the house? Let me see.
Related to Santa, actually, believe it or not. I don't know if you knew that.
Oh.
Yeah, fun fact. He knows what you've been doing. He sees you when you're sleeping. Creepy stuff. J.
Right, all
Claus, reach
creepy
out to me.
stuff.
Reach out to me, jetstalk247@gmail.com. We'll get you one of our Talkin' Jets shirts. Very, very excited to have you guys here. But let's go around our panel. Let's give our closing thoughts. Green Bean, any last words for the people out there?
I'm not doing an after-hour show because if I did, I would have to be at work in the middle of it. So I gotta go to bed. I don't know. I don't have anything going on. Thursday, thick of it. 7 o'clock on Thursday.
O'Leary, anything you got going on?
Yeah, new Just Jets tomorrow. We are talking about how the standard has changed for the New York Jets because of Aaron Rodgers, and I am here for it.
Ooh, I'm excited. I'm excited. Boys and girls, we've got a ticket group buy thing that we're kind of discussing right now. We got a few games we're kicking around here, so if you're interested in possibly going to a Jet game with the three of us, you better stay tuned and hang out because over the next few weeks, we will be dropping that news. So make sure you subscribe to make sure you get all our fun content. Hit that like button on the way out. Boys and girls, it's been a lot of fun hanging out with you tonight, but that is the end of our show. This is Jets Talk signing off. JETS.
I think every single person in this locker room is a competitor at the highest level. So, yeah, when you feel as if your backs are against the wall, you never have to feel like you got to do it by yourself.
Unbelievable throw. Under pressure. Sacked by Quinnen Williams. Right sideline, Uzama's got it.
You look to your left and your right, you got guys out there with you that our whole point is to help each other.
This one to Mims. That's Corey Davis climbing the ladder.
To be able to go out and lead these guys, just to know how hard these guys work and how important it is to them, and then you get that chance to lead them. Everything that happened that needed to happen for us, it almost felt like kind of like a sign, like get like a second chance almost.
Gets extra pushes, running left.
Maybe a little extra life to breathe in the locker room.
Touchdown Jets.